Hey everyone, I'm just making a short little video here. It should be a reasonably short video anyway. Just to talk about, as many people will be aware, the new Grand Theft Auto game involving Dr. Dre, the contract, which involves a mission of having to find Dr. Dre's lost phone with music on, with Dre actually being in the game, and other people like Kendrick Lamar, Jimmy Iovine, which does look really cool. Be interesting to play that. There's also, of course, the music, the exclusive Dre music, which has been recorded for this project. So I've been able to find links to the songs. They have sort of leads on YouTube as things do. Um, and I mean, there's not. I don't think there's an official track listing for the Contract EP as it's kind of known now. Um, but I'm gonna try and go through them the way that the order that I found them in the link that I found for it, um, which begins with Black Privilege, a very heavy, classic thumping Dre track. If it's not an intro to the project, it should be, because it starts off in such a banging way. Um, uh, he's trying to use some of the information I found on Genius. Not entirely sure if it's confirmed or not, but Bink is listed as producing with the track with Dre, which, if so, kudos, because again, it's a very sort of thumping Dre track, which I really enjoy. Um, Sort of, you're quite, Dre having a very sort of dominant sound, in his verse. Um, it's kind of like a long verse followed by a sort of hook and a shorter verse, and back to the kind of hook again. It's a bit of a partyish hook, but the actual verse itself is quite fairly punchline laden, dominant bragioso track, with a few boating references and sea references, it seems to be. Um, so there's interesting that theme to it in there, but yeah, it's a very strong track anyway. Next we have the Diamond Mind with Nipsey Hussle and Ty Dolla Sign. I don't know whether Nipsey's verse and hook were previously recorded with Dre on this beat or anything, or just Dre managed to get the rights to use it or something like that. But anyway, Nipsey sounds good over this track. Reason, slow verse and not necessarily wordy at all, but still, a decent enough verse. Just quite a it's certainly a smoother track than Black Privilege, almost like a soulful track in a way. Um, I've seen Alchemist listed as helping produce the track, which, if so, that kind of makes sense. So given the sound of it. Dre has his verse, and Ty Dolla Sign has the chorus and a verse of his own. Um, it's quite a nice, triumphant sounding track. The verses kind of having that's kind of uplifting, never giving up sort of feeling. It's not too much in that direction, but it's kind of a reasonably uplifting sort of track. And then it was ECA, I believe, which is kind of the single for the project. It was released on the trailer. Again, a very sort of lush, smooth sounding track featuring Anderson .Paak, Snoop Dogg, and Busta Rhymes. So the first verse is kind of Anderson .Paak and Busta and Dr. Dre going back and forth with each other, and kind of like a bit of a, I suppose, homage to the old Dr. Dre and Snoop back and forths. Snoop appears for the chorus, then for the second verse, it's basically Busta Rhymes' verse, but all four of them contributes to it, so you can kind of get a little bit of a back and forth between all of them, which works reasonably well. It doesn't ever sound too crowded or anything, so you know it's a fine track together. All of them, sounds good enough together. They've got some good chemistry, so they know each other well enough, so it all works together well. Um, Falling Up, which features Thurs on the chorus and Coco Saray for the hook. The game's name is listed as, and there's certainly the chorus does sound a little bit like him at points, but I think it is just Thurs doing it, and maybe there's some background vocals that Game does. Dr. Dre's verses do kind of sound like Game though, so I wouldn't be surprised if Game did write them. The second one in particular sounds a lot like a Game verse. The first one has, well, both of them have got some. It's quite again a punchline rhythm track, but there's some really good punchlines in the first verse. Dr. Dre referring to his recent divorce, trying to make the girl disappear. I had to get the pen and tell her, which that really popped me. I thought that was a really good punchline. So if you wrote that again, then kudos. But yeah, this is a fairly fun track overall. Again, pretty smooth sounding. Most like a lot of the tracks are on here. So yeah, and then we have the Scenic Route featuring again Anderson .Paak and Rick Ross this time. So both the verses are back and forth between Rick Ross and Dre. They have decent enough chemistry together. Not been the craziest Rick Ross fan, but he sounds fine on here. His general braggadocious style kind of works well with this track, and Dre manages to play off him reasonably well. Bouncing off each other. But other than that, Bruno Mars is listed on here as well in some places. The chorus appears to just be Anderson .Paak, so I don't think Bruno Mars does actually contribute vocally. He has been listed on Genius as producing the song, which if he did, then incredible, because it does sound like a very much a Dr. Dre track. A very smooth Dre sound. So if that was Bruno, then yeah, kudos. And then finishing off with the gospel, however it was written, a collaboration between Dre and Eminem. The chorus is, I believe, DOC. It's been listed on some versions as him, and it's certainly the screechy, scratchy nature of the vocals does sound like him. Given his vocal issues, so it wouldn't be surprising if it was. So yeah, and this has been listed as a production collaboration between Dre and M as well, and Louis Resto. So again, if that is the case, it still sounds like a Dre track. But M and Louis have been able to make Dre sound songs in the past, so it wouldn't be too surprising if it's a collaborative effort. Dre's verse is as pretty standards as the rest of the verses have been. You know, talking about his dominance, even though he hasn't released an actual album since Compton in 2015, and M comes through after, with his typical long Eminem verse. There's a really good line at the beginning. It's like satanic cults. It's uh, slaughtering. That's the only way. Slaughtering animals. Actually, really only way you can attack goats. Um, roughly. So anyways, I thought that was a good line at the beginning. Then after that, it kind of delves a bit into standard Eminem of the recent verses. Just putting some good rhyme schemes, but just kind of saying words for the sake of saying words. Some other punchlines in there which kind of vary from being okay to a bit meh. And there's a bit of a subliminal shot at Machine Gun Kelly. Another one of M's recent pitfalls is to just keep mentioning the same beefs over and over again, even though they're way past their sell by date. And it's a bit of a shame they kind of fell for that on this track as well. But I mean, overall, just given the nature of this project overall, um, with it just being tracks as a soundtrack for a video game, they all work well, and I can certainly see them being the background for playing the game. If it was on one of those in-game radio stations or what have you. Um, as an actual album, it would certainly require a bit more than just this, but as just a little project for for a tie-in for use in a video game, yeah, it seems to do its job fairly well, and it's good to hear Dre back with songs. His production is still, even if it's not solely him producing, if it's other producers co-producing, it still sounds really really strong. And the songs themselves, the verses and features are all good enough to be able to be played on the game and listened to. I feel so. Yeah, overall, not a hugely strong project, but certainly good enough for use in a video game. And yeah, would be. It sounds like it would be really fun to play at some point if I was able to. Well, and that's that, and I hope nice short review, and hopefully you get some more another time. Take care.